Hello, everybody. When you're out looking for women to approach, there's tons of different locations you can spend time in. Different locations attract different people. Hanging out in a clothing store like Zara, you will find a lot more young, pretty women than in some 99-cent store. Let's take a look at all the different types of locations you could day game in and what you have to deal with in these particular locations. You leave the house, and immediately the first possible location you could make an approach on is the street right then and there. I once approached a girl standing on the corner of the street just a couple of feet away from my house. You could do a street approach here or anywhere on your way to wherever you need to go. If she's standing, you can just walk up to her and hit her with your opener. If she's walking, you can wheel in front of her just like you would do on a busy street. But be careful. These are people you might see more often. These could be your neighbors. This isn't necessarily the place you want to build up a negative reputation in. I don't want to make you paranoid, but people could be watching from the windows. A woman could be close to her home and her jealous boyfriend could be watching from above. I haven't approached anywhere that close to my home in years. But by all means, don't let that stop you from approaching a girl close to your home. If you see a girl that you like, go for it. Don't copy my excuses. This is just something that has personally bothered me. Walking down the street, you might come across a bus stop and a girl is sitting there. I tend to go for it if she's alone or nobody else is standing too close to her. Girls at bus stops are sort of trapped there. If she doesn't want to talk to you, she can't just leave. She has to wait for the bus. So you have to be extra careful towards signs that she doesn't want to talk to you. If you have to wait for the bus too, a failed approach can create awkward situations. You might have to wait for 20 minutes after this, and that can be uncomfortable. You should also check beforehand how long it'll take for the next bus to arrive, if there's some kind of electronic display, and whether a bus can already be seen arriving. You don't necessarily want to start a conversation with only 1 minute of time left. But if you do, and it goes well, try to take the conversation into the bus in a smooth way. See how receptive she is to continue the conversation and how much the bus allows for that. Sometimes a bus is too full. If you decided not to approach the girl at the bus stop, maybe there's a nice girl on the bus. Depending on how many people are on the bus, I would probably opt for an indirect opener here. The bus is a high-pressure situation. Everyone is listening. You might get nervous. The girl might get nervous. Going direct here might have some social consequences. If you take that bus regularly, you might risk becoming that guy on the bus. The bus driver might speak up, and that's an authority you can't ignore. If you want to stick to direct openers, maybe tone them down a bit by redirecting the compliment. Instead of saying, "You look nice," you can point out something about her and give her a compliment about it, like, "I really like your necklace." Then see how much she's open for a conversation. People know what you are doing, but it's a bit more subtle. You get off the bus at the train station. The train station has shops. This is good for days when other shops in the city are closed, like on Sundays and holidays. Most people on these days can be found at train stations, and the shops here can be just as good as other shops in the city, depending on how big your city is. You will probably find drugstores, bookstores, convenience stores, and coffee shops here. Girls might be standing in front of the train station, but there's also a lot of beggars and bums here. When you approach her, she might already put you into that category. The same goes for the platforms. If your train station has problems with a lot of beggars going around, walking up to a girl might at first make her think you just want money from her. I have had some rough times approaching at train stations, with girls sometimes rejecting me before I could even give them the compliment. That might also be in part due to the stress of traveling and having other things on their mind. Generally speaking, if you dress well and you approach with a smile and the right body language, she'll probably respond well. Just keep in mind that girls might be annoyed and on their guard from the constant begging that happens in these places. Approaching on platforms can be okay, but often there are a lot of people standing there very closely together. And trains arriving and departing can produce a lot of noise, which makes things harder. But by all means, go for it if you see someone. Similar to buses, check for arrival and departure times. Getting a good approach going, only to have the train arrive a minute later, can be frustrating, especially if you don't intend to go on it. Drugstores always have a high chance of having attractive women in them. Approaches here are similar to approaches in supermarkets. Usually people who are shopping are open for a quick little chat. When you're shopping, things slow down a bit. You're standing in front of the products, you're looking for something, you might be in your head, but you're not really busy doing anything. So when someone comes along and says hi, you're likely to be somewhat open to exchanging some words. Most people in stores are not in a rush. It's a lot more likely that they'll give you some time. And these stores are pretty open spaces. If they're not too crowded, you have a lot of room to play with. But still pay attention to where you are initiating the conversation. Some spots are more crowded than others. I wouldn't approach while standing in the checkout line, for example. You have limited time and attention is going to be taken away from you when it's her turn. Also, she might feel trapped. You have the attention of other customers on you and possibly also staff. Train stations are generally not really my favorite locations, but on some days there are just no other spots in my city where I can find a good number of available women. So being frustrated with the train station, you might walk through the city looking for a shopping mall. Shopping malls have a lot of girls going about their business. Be careful though. A lot of them are too young and a lot of girls are also spending their day with family and friends. You'll still find a lot of approachable women there though, especially in clothing stores like Zara. I always go into these and I usually find an attractive available woman in there. The way women shop in these stores is similar to how they do it in supermarkets. Usually they are in no rush. You might find a bookstore in the mall. They're generally good for approaching, but I usually don't find a lot of very attractive women in them. It happens, but not as often as in other types of shops. Malls often have all kinds of stores. But clothing stores, supermarkets, and drugstores probably have the greatest number of attractive women in them. If you are especially daring, try a lingerie store. I've had good responses there. Just be careful. These kinds of stores are often a bit smaller, and staff might be extra sensitive to female customers being bothered. All in all, any type of store can have pretty girls in them. By all means, go and check them all out. It's just that some are frequented more by attractive girls than others. In some malls, you'll even find a gym. Gyms are a lot better for approaching women than a lot of people often think. You have to pick the right moment, but girls in gyms are often very friendly. I have the theory that that is because you're taking part in a shared activity. You are sort of part of the same club. It's similar to approaching girls at conventions. You share a common hobby, and it has this feeling of familiarity. At least more so than if you're just both shopping at the same supermarket. The best moment to approach a girl in a gym is when she's done with a certain exercise, gets off the machine, or puts away her equipment. If she still has more sets to do, and she's sitting on her machine, it's a bit awkward, and she will probably just go on to do the next set because she needs to finish this exercise. She might do it very nonchalantly in the middle of your conversation with her. If she gets up and maybe gets some piece of paper and disinfectant to clean the machine, she's way more approachable. It might have even been her last exercise before she goes home. It can still be that she wants to move on and continue her workout, but I've only had good experiences with that type of approach. If neither the mall nor the gym are really to your liking, the last place I can offer you are universities. Universities have a lot of young, attractive women, and it's generally a place where people do socialize. How conducive they are to approaching depends on what university you are at. Often girls are in groups or on their way somewhere. In the library, they are learning. In the cantina, they are eating. And in groups, it might be hard to get to them. Something I have done for a long time when I'm eating at the cantina is look around and pick a table with a pretty girl who's alone and ask if there's room at her table. You might not want to do this when there are too many free tables around you, as it makes it clear to her that you are really interested in her. Alternatively, you can sit at a table near her from where you can have a casual conversation with her. Then you can open her indirectly. What always works is to simply ask her if the food she's having is any good. You can then see how interested she is. Ramble a bit about the food. See if you can find any women sitting around on benches, inside and outside. And if you can spot any standing by themselves in hallways. Universities often have things going on. Little celebrations, new students being welcomed. Be on the lookout for social gatherings. There are tons of different situations to meet women in, and they all have their little advantages and disadvantages. Some of it might be up to personal taste, but some places are just really good while others stink. In addition to that, the time and day matters. On work days in the morning, women go to work. Around noon, they take their lunch break. You can find them maybe at a supermarket or a bakery getting something for their break, but they won't have a lot of time for you. In the afternoon, they return from work and might do some shopping before they go home. They are probably more receptive around that time than in the morning or around noon. And on the weekend, they might go shopping with family members or recover from partying. So go and take a look at your city and observe. Check out different places, get a feel for the differences, and then pick what you think is the best. For more tips on how to flirt with women properly, check out other videos on my channel. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and consider making a small donation via PayPal or subscribing to my Patreon. Links are in the description. Share and like this on social media. It helps me immensely. Check out this playlist for other videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you again. Bye bye.